Welcome to the zoo. Hazmat suits required, 10 exhibits. Dick pics to divine feminine. Same scrutiny throughout. Not a redemption arc. A systems diagnostic. Left, the rules. Suppress, dominate, isolate. Right, what they produce in 2026. Fatal error. Manbox.os shipped corrupted. 3 rules. Suppress emotion, dominate others. Never ask for help. System crash. Body dysmorphia rebranded as biohacking. Moisturizer as firmware update. The unsolicited image, not predation, worse. Zero theory of mind. Batman without the money. The training, the Alfred, just a gargoyle. Every guy on field is a pleasure dom. 1% skill. Emotional IQ not found. 1950.exe on 2026 hardware. Compatibility error. Incels externalize. MGTOW retreats. Both staring at connection lost screens. Some men just leave the table. Not rage. Arithmetic. The divine feminine. New skin on the same character. Not a patch. Vulnerability as script. Empathy simulation loaded. Nothing running underneath. The goal is not better rules. The goal is to be human. A failure of imagination. The theory of mind gap in 4 panels. 4 motivations. 1 broken simulation. The full map. Dead fish on a doorstep. Baffling in its optimism. Input. Optimism. Output. System crash. He genuinely thinks this is courtship. 4 types. Exhibitionist, misperceiver, trader, signaler. Most aren't predators, just confused. His system, eye to arousal. Hers roots through context, trust, narrative. Hardware mismatch. The solipsism loop. He imagines her reaction and only finds his own. For some, the violation is the feature. Peacock tail, gorilla chest beat. Technology removed the pause where judgment used to live. The pic is the loud symptom. The disease is the inability to read the room. Education for the confused, consequences for the deliberate. 2 patches. Desire meeting zero theory of mind. First exhibit closes. It gets weirder. From self-care to subculture. The looksmaxxing lexicon, decoded. Softmaxing to black pill. Notice where healthy ends and obsession begins. Looksmaxxing. Men discovered looks matter. Gave it a game of vocabulary. Cross-out grooming, right biohacking. Same behavior, different frame. 3 classes. Soft is reversible, hard is permanent. Maxing is the umbrella. Mewing, tongue to roof. Wait for bone restructure. It costs nothing, so it persists. Canthal tilt. The angle of the eye, measured with calipers. This is a thing now. Skeleton is destiny. Every bone catalogued. Every deviation a critical error. Mogging. Domination through mere presence. Social gatherings as competitive events. Gigachad. Normie. Gym cell. Incel. Cope. The hierarchy in trading card form. Nice haircut to skull measurement to genetic fatalism. 3 stops. The black pill. Genetics are destiny. Effort is cope. A fatalism that forecloses change. Women did this for decades and it was vanity. Men do it and it's optimization. The dysmorphia loop. Optimization has no endpoint. The mirror becomes the enemy. 2 doors. Self-care or obsession. The vocabulary tells you which one. Game over. System shuts down. The players keep measuring. Performance versus practice. The pleasure dom reality check. Left, the costume. Right, the real thing. The vetting checklist is what matters. Infection detected. The pleasure dom identifier spreading across every kink app. Swipe 20 minutes. Count the doms. Now count the ones who understand the source code. Input, I want oral sex. Process. Cool word for that. Output, I am a pleasure dom. The real spec. Service-oriented architecture. High-level administration of another person's nervous system. Reading breath. Distinguishing pleasure from panic. Skilled labor. Most lack the bandwidth. Red flags, phase 1. The costume. Sentences with 0 information content. Red flags, phase 2. Vague on negotiation, blank on aftercare. Operating on vibes. SSC and rack. 2 frameworks, 1 principle. No code, no connection. Kink went mainstream. The context stayed behind. Terms traveled without their ethics. Subdrop. Nervous system at redline. No guidance down. The fake dom calls an Uber. Women conclude they dislike submission. Actually, they dislike incompetence. 4 questions. Aftercare. Negotiation. Specifics. Ego. Run the scan before granting access. Fake doms announce. Real doms demonstrate. Dominance doesn't need a press release. The solution isn't gatekeeping, it's education. Costume versus competence. Filter accordingly. The Sigma illusion. Lone wolf mythology. Cope dressed as philosophy. Rebranding failure as choice. Astrology for men who think they're above it. A welfare check. The manosphere went quiet. Silence is not resolution. 2018, front page threat. 2026, empty streets. Where did they go? 3 trajectories. Aged out. Rebranded. Went dark. 1 red thread. The majority simply grew up. Inceldom was a phase. They don't identify as form or anything. The driver was loneliness, not ideology. When community arrived, the framework collapsed. The loud ones were processing. The quiet ones were calcifying. Silence does not mean safety. Red pill to trad pipeline. Same resentment, new costume. Victim becomes patriarch. MGTOW. The brand died. The sentiment merged. Passport brosied trad life. New addresses. The critical fork. Gym or forum. One path leads out. The other leads deeper. Action pathway. You can't think your way to a deadlift. Frustration becomes fuel. Rumination pathway. The framework explains everything, so nothing ever changes. 4 quadrants. The out, the rebranded, the limbo, the dark. We stopped watching. It didn't end. It aged out of visibility. Are they okay? Some are, some aren't. People change unless they build a framework to prevent it. End of diagnostic. The welfare check. The panic moved on. The men didn't. 3 fates. Aged out. Found new containers. Went dark. System status isolated. Connection offline. Philosophy or cope. Astrology for men who think they're too rational for astrology. The Wolfpack study was debunked by its own author. The terminology stayed. Alpha is aspirational. Beta is terrifying. Sigma is losing dressed as choosing. Reality on the left. The cope filter on the right. Every rejection becomes intentional withdrawal. Batman without the bat. The costume without the competence. Batman is broken. Batman has Alfred. Batman is a genius. You are not Batman. Social anxiety. Bury it in the mission. Label avoidance as ambition. Repeat. Put these words in a woman's mouth. Now you hear it. Shame recoded as superiority. Exclusion rebranded as independence. Unfalsifiable. Every outcome confirms the framework. That's not insight. That's a cage. Loneliness is a health risk comparable to smoking. The bill always comes due. One chooses solitude because he can't connect. The other can connect and sometimes chooses not to. Social skills are skills. Awkward at 20, fluent at 30. But only if you drop the frame. Game over. Outside the hierarchy or just not doing well in it. The Trad Husband, 1954 promises. 2026 economy, nobody profiles the man. The persona and the promise on the left. The reality, friction on the right. Status, invisible. Role, silent partner. The man behind the aesthetic. The feed, sourdough and soft light. The operation, a content machine. What does he actually want? Authority, provision, permanence. The 1950s spec sheet. Control, security, status, simplicity. 4 doors to the same room. One income bought a house in 1970. Housing is 10 times income now. The math doesn't work. Aspiring trad husband. 70,000 a year. Upper class aesthetic. Middle class paycheck. The cheat codes. Inherited wealth or the content farm. Her performance of provision pays the bills. The Neeleman exception. Heir to hundreds of millions. That's not provision. That's inheritance. Origin. The manosphere. They married a thesis. Then they got an actual woman. The thesis says submissive. Reality says human. He experiences her humanity as breach of contract. Chosen complementarity. Enforced dependency. On Instagram, identical. The test. If she can't leave, the tradition is a trap. The invisible man. The patriarch who doesn't speak. Maybe showing him would break the spell. The aesthetic is 1954. The economy is 2026. The gap is where people get hurt. End of file. 6 chapters roasting men. They deserved it. Now the balance. The divine feminine industrial complex. Failure modes on the left. Real work on the right. System alert. Spiritual bypassing in 2026. Fault detected. Catharsis without critique is its own dysfunction. The source code. Jungian psychology. The product, essential oils and manifestation workshops. The opposite of toxic masculinity is healthy masculinity, not a spiritual aesthetic. Malware type 1. Sacred vocabulary firewalling uncomfortable emotions. She says nothing because directness is masculine energy. Resentment builds. System crashes. Malware type 2. A billion-dollar category selling the appearance of practice. Malware type 3. The same gender cage patriarchy built, repainted with goddess marketing. Malware type 4. Spiritual gaslighting. Different weapon, same refusal to say, my mistake. Rituals are fine. Essentialism, bypassing, and commodification are not. Healthy femininity and healthy masculinity look identical. They're called maturity. Young new, anima and animus in everyone. The boxes are optional. One question. Is this framework serving growth or insulating you from it? Avoidance is not flow. Personality is not biology. Accountability is the ultimate spiritual practice. System reboot complete. The love and light sign is on the ground. The processing gap. 2 operating systems. Therapy was built for one. Verbal disclosive on the left, action-oriented on the right. Neither is superior. The feminization of therapy. System glitch or design working as intended. The dominant OS. Vulnerability is strength. The research is real. Does it run on all hardware? Universalization error. What helps women often doesn't help men. Incompatible hardware. Face-to-face. Talk is the work. Side by side. Activity is the container. Both real. The doing is not a prelude to the work. The doing is the work. Humor, diagnosed as deflection. Actually, a metabolizer for pain. Valid coping flagged as bugs. The armor stays on because they learned it's unsafe to take it off. The architect's bias. Designers build systems for their own psychology. The upgrade, walking sessions. Humor validated. A hybrid center, not a single default. The armor causes harm. And the solution is not a different processing style imposed by force. Men process differently. Therapy adapts. Stop treating one style as correct for all hardware. The goal is a system that runs on all hardware. The quiet opt-out, not rage, not ideology, just a gradual shift in configuration. The load calculation. Relational load mapped across configurations. Selection, not contempt. The quiet exit. The inversion this series has been building toward. Around 30, it emerges. Not misogyny. A gradual adjustment of settings. Configuration A, CPU runs hot. Configuration B, meters run cooler. Different labor, not absent. The load isn't tasks, it's the mental tracking. Invisible until it's missing. With women, competence increases demand. With men, competence reduces load. 2 figures on a rooftop. Needs stated or ignored. Fewer CPU cycles from the nervous system. Not women bad. System fit. Energy versus required output. Path of least resistance. Relief from performance. Deep exhaustion. I can relax. There is no script. I got tired. Reading 1. The flight from equity. She carries the weight. He opts out. The lazy path. Reading 2. The flight from artifice. Maybe not all that relational labor is necessary. Both are true. The nervous system makes the choice regardless. Adulthood is optimization. Adults select based on fit, not what they're supposed to want. The orthogonal exit. The incel rages because he's excluded. This man selects out. Different axis entirely. Some men shifted with it. Not a crisis. A quiet drift toward configurations that just work. The stitched bunnies are not cute. They are survivors of a high-load system. Still here.